I call the Honourable Simon Bridges.
Mr Chair, it is a great pleasure and a privilege to be Transport Minister, to be Energy Minister in this John Key-led national government. And that's because, Mr Chair, this is the strongest infrastructure government in many a decade. This is the strongest party and government for infrastructure that this fine country of ours has had for many a decade. And I can tell you that that is so for many reasons, and I will do that. But I'll tell you one anecdote. It was a great pleasure preparing before the select committees in the areas that I have responsibility for, because we have such a good story to tell. They were fireside chats, Mr Chair, that we had in those committees, because the story that we have in transport and that we have in energy is absolutely fantastic, because we are delivering results for this country in transport. And let me talk a bit about that. The New Zealand Land Transport Plan, recently put out by the Transport Agency, biggest ever across every single class. We are spending more where it is needed in every single class in land transport that there are, whether it's the big cities, where we've got the biggest roading project coming to completion right at the moment in Auckland ever in New Zealand, the Western Ring Route, with Alice there boring through and doing a tremendous job, where it's Tauranga Eastern Link, which very soon will be open to the public, the best road when it is opened in New Zealand, in the country, very shortly. Absolutely fit for purpose to connect up those exporters that Stephen Joyce was talking about, the kiwi fruit growers, the productive sector of our country to the best and biggest port. Whether it's in the provinces and the rural areas, we're from the Akarama Curves in Northland through to passing lanes in Gisborne, through to the Normanby Bypass in the centre, the Cowrell Falls Bridge later this year. Many millions, in fact hundreds of millions of dollars are going in to regional roads to make sure that they are fit for purpose and doing the job to get exports to market efficiently and productively, and also to get our people around this country safely. We are multimodal, Mr Chair. I always love saying this for Julianne Genta's benefit, but it is this national government that has delivered the biggest infrastructural investment in rail in many a decade. In Auckland, $1.6 billion for the electrification of rail. Good to see the Mayor and the Council talking about this earlier this week, a real step change for that city. Over $3 billion in capital expenditure in rail since we have been in government. Truly significant, and yet to some never enough. Bus interchanges, park and rides, significant infrastructural spend in that. And just to show the multimodal nature of this government's infrastructural investment, $333 million in cycling in the next 3 years, in urban cycleways, a real step change for literally every urban area over 30,000 people in this country, whether it's Whangarei, Auckland, Wellington, you name it, Mr Speaker. They are getting very strong investment that is going to really deliver for the people of New Zealand. And in Auckland, where Phil Dryford talked about, where of course we're engaging in an engagement process, because we do want to make sure we're spending the money right on congestion and public transport. But in the meantime, $1 billion a year going into that city. We're not seeing it sitting on our hands. We are the biggest investor in Auckland, bar none, where it's Victoria Park Tunnel, whether it's the Western Ring Route I've spoken of, whether it's Amity, whether it's East-West, where you're getting on with the projects that we are being told are the ones that need to be focused on and really delivering for that city. And in technology, I'm really excited about the way we are across the board in transport, enabling technology and innovation to capture the benefits of what is happening around the world for transport users in New Zealand. Whether it's mobility, whether it's ensuring that some of the really interesting car and ride-sharing innovations that are seeing more people in fewer cars will be enabled in New Zealand. Whether it's in UAVs, or drones that people talk about, Mr. Chair. Whether it's Mr. Chair,
Honourable Simon
whether
Bridges.
it's in drones and areas like that, we are making sure we have the most fit-for-purpose enabling regulation. It's going to be a pleasure with Craig Foss, Associate Minister, to be part of seeing those new regulations come in very shortly, in fact later this week. And in energy and resources, I'm glad Fletcher Tabato spoke about that because we can say with absolute clarity that today we have the most competitive, the most innovative electricity market this country has ever seen, Mr. Speaker. The most competitive, and the opposition say, well, is that really so? Where's your proof? Well, how about this? Today, the latest statistics, New Zealand statistics, show that the CPI figures out today on electricity prices show the annual rate of change in electricity prices paid by households. What do you think that was? What are the people of this House, the members of this House? 0% change in the last year in electricity prices for this households. Well, let me give the members over on that side of the House a little history lesson. I don't think that's ever happened this decade. I don't think that has ever happened this century. In fact, I think we'd be hard-pressed to find another year where there has been a 0% increase in electricity prices for households. And that is because this government, on getting into office, and Jerry Brownlee and Stephen Joyce set up the Electricity Authority, got a competitive market going. We are seeing the most competitive, most innovative market we have ever seen. With electricity retailers and the numbers there at record levels. I think it's off the top of my head, 14 new retailers offering 25 brands. Hot competition for customers, meaning that the big players are seeing their market share over time squeezed as more and more people shop around. It's a very strong record in infrastructure, Mr. Speaker, that this government has, whether it's in transport across the board, more investment going where it's really needed in a multimodal approach, or whether it's in energy and resources where we are seeing the most competitive electricity market we have ever seen, with 0% increases for households made clear by Statistics New Zealand today. That's why, Mr. Speaker, I am incredibly proud to be part of this John Key national-led government that is making a difference in infrastructure, that is the best government in infrastructure this country has seen in many a decade.
I call Catherine Delahunty.